been staying with us from 8 o'clock onwards in the morning. And some of us have joined now. So, for everyone's knowledge, I just introduce the context and then introduce our next speaker, Gotha. So, this program initiative is part of the ICE Trust. ICE, it is Empower Youth, Educate Society. This was formed by Mr. Anto Vincent about 2 decades back, and his legacy is being taken forward by Uma and Arun. So She Evolves is part of the ICE initiatives. ICE works on a few areas. One is She Evolves for the women, and the other areas that we work is on integral education, natural health, nature, and the youth above 60. So basically, anything that is for a new creation, people who intend to work deeper from their soul spaces and bring something forward creatively, we try to support the initiatives. So, having said that, She Evolves is part of this initiative, and we have 12 women. We have already seen 7 of them, and we've listened to their great, inspiring stories. Uh, they're all very ordinary people, but living, touching some extraordinary qualities and spreading that in this world around them. So I have Gotha Hari Priya, who's again uh, one of those beautiful women um, who is doing something different in this world on parenting. So soulful parenting. I have Gotha. I would like to not talk too much. I would like Gotha to talk more about her works and her space on parenting. But I remember when we spoke together, she mentioned that parenting is her way of seeking the inner and progressing further. So that's something which, as a parent, when she became a parent, and then now to all parents, she feels that once we become a better parent, we create a better, peaceful, joyful planet and a new set of citizens who are more peaceful and loving. So, with that, I welcome you, Gotha, and welcome to share your story.
Thank you. Thank you, Priya. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ice, for having me. It's a huge honor knowing the depth and the passion that you and your team have towards, the society. So I think it's my honor and privilege today to be here. So my name is Gotha Hari Priya. I usually don't tag myself with anything except that I'm a mother of 2 children. That's the primary role that I play today. But since you all want to know better about me, I would like to add that I also talk to parents, educate them about parenting. So you might be wondering about, why do we need to talk to parents about parenting? Isn't it something that comes naturally? Isn't it something which is intuitive? Isn't this why is this the new generation where people are just talking about anything and everything and making a fuss about, so many things? And why are there classes for these so many random things? So, where do you guys think we learn parenting from? You can use the chat window to communicate with me. So, I would like it to be more interactive because I'm sure that you had a long day, all of you juggling your work and listening to people. To just make it more, interesting for the both of us. Parents from our own parents. Okay. So for our parents and family members, we learn many things from our kids, from our parents. So majority of you, from the answers that I got, you're saying that we learn it from our parents, which is true. Uh, but when we parent the way we have been parented, learning from them, modeling them, we will not produce, I would say, but we would raise children who are very outdated. So for the generation our children are in, IQ is definitely not going to be important. But when we were, children, there was a lot of importance given for IQ, intelligence, academics, learn, then only you can be successful, learn, you can make money, then you can be happy. So a lot of importance was given to education and topping or getting good marks, cracking that exam. But when our children, like in another 20 years, you will notice that there will be supercomputers to do all that we are teaching them to do in school today. So, what will be really important for our children in the next generation will be emotional intelligence quotient. Do they have the capacity? Do they have the intelligence in them to uh, recognize and realize what emotion they're feeling? And are they able to communicate that effectively to another human being? That is one. Next huge thing which will set our children apart from the rest of their peers will be that do they have the humanity to look and notice the human being who is sitting right next to them? Because today it's so easy to see how we are so, blocked because of this one screen that we see in front of us, that we don't even we are not able to begin conversations or initiate communication with somebody right next to us. Today, I see children, young children, who are not able to walk up to a store and start a conversation with a stranger. The distance between humans is just widening and widening. So, I think that for our children in the future generation, uh, IQ will be something which is not such a big deal like it used to be. We are evolving. Our children, like when I'm smarter than my parents in this age, my kids are much smarter. So the more and more we evolve, I think parenting also has to evolve. So what is the right parenting technique is the usual question that I get. I have a very simple answer. Please treat your children the way you want your spouse to treat you. It's that simple. Treat your children the way you want your husband or your wife to treat you. I know it's so easy to say, it's a one line, but to live this truth day in and day out is a struggle, because treating children with respect, treating children with compassion, with kindness, it takes a lot of effort, because we are so used to treating children how? What is our what is the technique that we use to discipline children? Please use your chat window. How do we make our children behave the way we want them to behave?
டேய் இப்படி பண்ற அப்படி பண்றான்னு சொல்லி we command.
Command, meritro, we command them. Yes. What else? Control them. Yes. Punishment. Being strict, preaching. Okay. Hitting them. Yes. Yes. Spanking them. Time out. Way of punishment. Yes. Yes. Pushing them away, ignoring them, avoiding them so they learn their lesson, and then rewarding them, giving them, treats and gifts for behaving the way we want them to behave. So all of these behavior modification techniques, just imagine you being there in that place and your spouse speaking the same way you speak to your children today. I'm telling you, if they had the capacity to divorce us, they would have done long ago, our children. Simply because they don't know that they can, they can't serve, simply because they can't survive in the real world, our children are continuing to live in our world. Because that's how unfair we treat children today. That's how unkind, unjust we are towards them. And I'm not saying that we are wrong. I'm just saying that we are following something which feels wrong to us within us, but we're just following it because our parents did it, because that's the only model that we know, and we imitate what we see. So we saw our parents treating us like that, and we just continue doing that. Next question. How many of you here were punished when you were growing up? Say yes or no. You can type a Y, N. Yes. Anything in the chat window. I just want to know. Yes, yes. Okay. Okay, I can see a lot of yes. Now, I want you to tell me how you felt when you were punished. What was the feeling that you had? Did it feel good or did it feel bad? Bad. If you can be more elaborate about the topic, about about how you felt. Helpless, fear, humiliation, unjust. Okay, fear, hurt, alienated, fear. Great. Okay. Frustrated, wanted to grow up soon and get away from it. Absolutely, I can connect to that so much. Insulted, ignored, all of these things. But why do we punish children? What is the sole reason we punish children? Because we want them to learn their lesson and behave better so that they don't get into trouble later on in life. That's the intention behind the punishment. And now you're telling me this is how you felt when your parents punished you. Okay, so what is the gap? So now, when you were punished, were you thinking about, oh my God, how do I correct myself? Oh my God, I shouldn't have done this. How do I do this better next time? Were you thinking about that? Or were you thinking like, shit, I hate my parents. How do I get my revenge? How do I make them feel guilty? If I fall down and get hurt, they will feel guilty for hurting me. They don't like me. Why are they doing this to me? This is not fair. Okay? So, can you see the difference? We want one thing, but we're doing another thing. And it's I don't know the right word to say, but it's ironical in my point of view. It can be different in your point of view. But in my point of view, it's ironical because when we were children and we were growing up, we every time we were punished, we thought that I will not do this to my own children. Did we or did we not think? Did you think when you were a child, I will not be the parent I had? When I have my children, I will be different. I'll be a different kind of a parent. Yes, we all decided that. And now what are we today? Exactly a replica of our parents, mostly. If you're not conscious, most of us are just uh, replicating our parents' behaviors. So now
No,
can you see
we
the cycle? Ma'am?
sorry
Yes.
to interrupt, but then it does help to know that we don't want to be mistakes that parents have made and may have done it also. That is no mistakes, avoiding that which hurt.
Yeah.
So it's not like we do the same. No.
In most cases, I've seen that out of habit, and like I said in brackets, unless we are consciously taking an
Hmm.
effort to be different, we end up being the same, even though we have so strongly decided when we were children that I will
Agreed.
not punish my child. But
Agreed.
somehow,
Agreed.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
somehow we end up there. So can you see that cycle there? You are a child. You decide that you will not be you will not hurt your child. Hurt. I'm just going to use the word hurt. You will not hurt your child when you become a parent. Then you become a parent and then you hurt your child. And then you kind of get used to it that you don't pause and think that, why am I doing this? Is there another way to raise my child with kindness, with compassion, with empathy? I know this sounds very vague, the concept. It's so easy to think that, but children raised like this become very spoiled, become very pampered. They become very entitled in the real world. But honestly, put your hand to your heart and tell me that if you were given a choice today, if you were given an option today in any environment, it can be your home, it can be your workspace, it can be with your family, it can be anywhere. Are you on your best behavior when you're made to feel good, when you feel compassion and empathy coming from the opposite person? Are you behaving on your best behavior then? Or are you behaving your best when you feel humiliated, insulted, hurt, lost? Doesn't even have to be about parenting. Which, which feeling makes the best come out of you? I've always felt that like when I'm accepted, when I'm understood, when I see kindness, then I'm my best version to that person. Today, in spite of anything and everything, I have a particular set of people and my best version with, and the common character is that they accept me for who I am. They allow me to be who I am, right? So I think that's the missing piece today. in our parenting. We're constantly trying to make something out of our child. We're trying to change them to be somebody. We are trying to do something with them that gives them the message that you are not okay the way you are. You need to be somebody else for to to get my love, to be worthy of my love, to take up space. So this is the message that we're constantly communicating to our children, and then we wonder, why is my child behaving so badly? Anybody will behave badly when they are made to feel like they're not enough, that they're not worthy, right? This is the missing piece. And how did I figure this out? Because this is the backstory of where I come from. So when I was growing up, I used to study well, and my brother didn't. He struggled with academics. So he used to be punished constantly, physically in front of my eyes. That every time he got hit, I felt like I got hit, and I felt like, so many times I've prayed to God as a young child. I prayed like, why can't my brother also study so both of us can be happy? Because every time he used to get hit, I used to feel guilty for doing well in my studies. Like, shit, if I also didn't study, if I, it came naturally to me. It was not that I had to put effort. It just came naturally that I used to top my class. And then I used to think like, shit, if I could do badly, then both of us, it would equal out, and my brother wouldn't feel so alone. Because I remember him feeling so alone. So that's where I come from. That I don't want anybody to feel like my brother. It's not even that it happened to me, because if it had happened to me, the way I processed it would have been different. I would have continued to, you know, keep doing this to my child. But somewhere watching this from distance gave me a lot of perspective about what my mother is going through, what my brother is going through, what my dad is going through, what I am going through. All of that as a child, I'm just watching. Because it's not happening to me. If it was happening to me, I would have been very angry with my parents. But it's happening to somebody else. So I got that space to think about, what is this? Why is this making me feel so uncomfortable? Why is this feeling so wrong in my heart when my brother gets hit? Right? So that's where I come from. So that is one part of the story. And then there is one more part where when I was in my teenage, when I did, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but when I didn't fall into the norms of the society and when I chose to be different, I was severely shamed and I was made to feel very alone. Um, and, I questioned a lot about my relationship with my parents. And at that time in my life, I had two friends who told me, like, gee, people make mistakes. You're human. And till then, I was living a perfectionist life. Yet, like, I could study well. I got good marks. And then I was this good girl who could, help everybody, who was generous. So all the characteristics of a good girl was ticked in my checkbox. And I was like this model, uh, you know, child in the family who everybody is looking up to, saying, you have to be like her, you have to be like her. And then this incident happened, and then suddenly nobody's there with me and I'm just very alone. And my two friends were telling me that it's okay, people make mistakes, you're human. And it took me so long to realize that it's okay, it's really okay, I am okay, and it doesn't make a difference in my life, in the long run, about this one small incident. And I'm going on thinking, and around my family, I'm a very different person in this space. And with these two friends, I'm like very casual, very much myself. I enjoy being around them. I grow around them. I take effort to learn new things around them. Uh, so I'm thinking, like, what is different? I want to be like this when I have a child of my own. This I'm deciding when I was 20. Okay, just out of college, I'm deciding. Uh, and I'm thinking, what is this one quality that is making this huge change within me? What is the space that they are giving so I can be my best version? And the quality that came up was acceptance. They honored me. They didn't want me to change. They didn't shame me. They didn't punish me. They didn't criticize me. They just said, we like you no matter what. You are you. And that's what they said. And that's the feeling they gave me. So I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to replicate with my own children. And at that time, I was not even married. So, and another few years, I got married, and then I started reading more. I'm like, I don't want to do the conventional method of parenting, which actually harms in the long run, where more people end up taking therapy than they, have a good life. So I'm like, okay, I want to do things differently. That's when I decided that this hitting, yelling, shouting actually doesn't produce long term results. But I want to be like my friends to my child. I'm not saying I'm a friend to my child now. No, definitely not. I know that I cannot be a friend to my child. But what I want to be to my child is I want them to know that no matter what, I'll be there for them. And and they can keep their secrets, they can live their own life, I can live my own life as we're growing up. But I want them to know no matter what, they can count on me to be there for them. So that's the only parameter that I'm trying to fulfill as a parent today. Then I came across respectful parenting, where we treat the child like the way we want to be treated. So which means they are involved, they're part of the family. And people ask me, how is your child so cooperative? How is it that they are so much, how are they so responsible? How do they take up so much of household chores? And my answer is because they are treated like they're part of the family. They are treated like they are contributors to the family, and they're treated with respect. And a child who grows up in such an environment with so much of respect will only know to give back the respect. Say, for example, you're joining new to work, okay? And in case one, you have a boss who's constantly ordering you, barking at you, commanding you, micromanaging you, and telling you how to finish the job. This is, you have another boss who's like, I trust in you. I'm sure you'll figure this out on your own. If you need any help, come to me. This is where I will be. So you take your time, settle down, and this is your job. This is what needs to be done. So you see the difference between those two. And I believe in case two is when we blossom and become our best versions, right? So that's the character I'm trying to, that's the essence of what I'm trying to do with my parenting. And I became very fascinated. And then people started asking me questions about how do I do this at home? How do I replicate this? So then I started speaking to more parents, telling them it's so simple, very simple that even you can do it. So I just, even now, I don't teach them in my classes about how to parent, what is the technique, what is the strategy. I just help parents realize that in parenting, you're not raising children, you're only raising yourself. Okay. When my child at 7 o'clock in the morning, he spills a huge carton of milk on the floor. It's just the time I woke up and I'm very rested and relaxed, and I just came out of my meditation. And I'm so great, feeling really great about life in general. I'm like, okay, Kana, come, let's wipe it. We'll wipe it together. It's okay. Things like this happen. Uh, when I spill things. This is my response. And the same child, same carton of milk, when it spills at 7 p.m. in the night, I get very pissed off. I get so irritated. I annoy. I get very annoyed. I shame my child and tell like, this is what you always do. Why can't you be more careful? How many times do I have to tell you to be careful? Now who's going to clean up this mess? I don't know. You just clean it and then come to bed. I don't care. In the all the million things that I do for you every day, can't you take care of this one small thing and do it with care, so we are not with so much more work to do? So this is my response at 7 p.m. in the evening. And the child is just looking at me like, 7 a.m., same carton of milk, same mummy, same me. 7 p.m., same carton of milk, same mummy, same me, but the reaction is so different. So what changed from morning till evening? What do you think changed? Any answers?
Pressure of work.
Yeah.
Our mind will be fresh in the morning, so our mind will be calm. So by evening we'll be full of
Drained out,
thoughts, many of things going through the mind.
drained out, exhausted. So made me think that the child is still the child. The child is doing childish things. The child is being the child. Isn't it my responsibility as an adult to take care of how available I am emotionally to my child? How will the child know that it's 8 o'clock in the evening? Amma is going to be very tired. It's not that the child intentionally picked that milk and dropped it. Yeah. But our reaction largely depends on how we feel at that particular moment, not just to the child, to anyone. Which makes me question, isn't it our responsibility as an adult to regulate our emotions better, to take care of ourselves better, to nourish ourselves more so that we are not in a place of exhaustion when we are dealing with children. Yeah. And suddenly we expect children to become adults and, you know, not make mistakes. No, they are children. And, I can see varied age groups of people here. I'm assuming that all of you know how children are children. And it's unfair of us to expect adult behavior from children, right? Yeah. So this is where my whole philosophy of soulful parenting, the topic that I'm given, resides. That parenting is not raising children. Parenting is raising myself to be an adult around my child. So along with my child, I'm also growing. So one day I'm shouting, yelling at my child, and then I'm thinking, why did I have to yell? What made me yell? What made me lose my cool? So where did my anger come from? All of these are questions for me to go within and ask. If it was a normal parenting scenario, it's agreed and accepted that it's okay to be angry on the child. We can vent out on the child, we can take it out on the child. In fact, it's thought of as a good parenting strategy if we show our anger to our children. But no, the child is also human. We have been a child once, all of us have been there once. None of us felt good. And now, how suddenly after 20, 30 years, it's supposed to feel good for the child? Not fair. It won't be like that. So, this is something for all of us to think about. Why am I treating my child the way I didn't like when I was growing up? Yeah. If your answer is because I'm a parent now. I don't have the patience. I don't have the time. I don't have the resources. I'm very busy. I'm exhausted. And the question is, what are we doing with our life? All of that we do today. I'm earning, I'm running, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's so that we give a good future for our children. But what is a good future without a good emotionally healthy environment at home? Yeah. So isn't it our responsibility as adults to give that, to be that, to work on ourselves so that we are there. Okay. So this is where my huge philosophy of work was revolving around. And then this is my first child. And gradually, as I'm reading more and more, I'm very aware and conscious about parenting, where it starts, uh, where it begins, and all. So I'm thinking, parenting starts from the moment we give birth, from the time we're pregnant. So I'm going back from the time we conceive, all of that. And then I'm realizing the way we give birth to our child, the birthing experience of the mother in itself determines the kind of parenting journey that lays ahead. So then I realized that I want to have a gentle and respectful birthing experience for my second child. So, and then I thought the ones we have in the institutions, in the hospitals, felt very violating, felt very unkind, very unjust. Because if you see a baby in utero, in the womb, for 9 months, the baby has been in a cocoon of safety, of darkness, of lesser sounds. The sounds are all muffled because the child is behind so many layers and they cannot be light. So that's where the child has been for 9 months, okay? In water, in liquid, in feeling safe, feeling warm. And the moment the child comes out of the environment, there is somebody hitting the child to make the child cry. They're rubbing the child with a cloth. There is so much light in the birthing room. And then there's so much noise. All of the senses are suddenly like rudely awakened for a child. Imagine you sleeping and then all of your senses are resting. And then imagine somebody like coming and banging on your head and then waking you up with a lot of aggression and a lot of force and violence. How would you feel when you wake up? Not great. So I'm thinking from the point of view of the child in utero, and I'm like, no, this is not what I want for this child, second child, now that I know better. So I chose to have a natural birth. Natural birth meaning it's more without medications, without interventions, where the child is allowed to transition gently into the world. So for the kind of birth I had, there were no I was allowed to walk around. I was allowed to move around. I was allowed to be myself. Like how in the olden days, your mothers and grandmothers would have birthed at home That's how I birthed in a center. I was not at home, but I went to their home and then I birthed. And yeah, so when the child was born, I was the one who held the child. I immediately put the child on my chest, which meant the child is warm. Nobody was talking in the room. There was no light. There was only very dim light. Nobody was talking, which meant that transition was very smooth. Only the baby said, ah, that scream was only there, and then immediately the baby calmed down. And nobody was touching the child, nobody was rubbing anything. So the baby was just naked on my chest. Skin to skin was there. So this is the kind of birth I had. And yeah, that the transition can be seen so differently from this child and that child. So that child, first child was immediately taken away from me, and then they didn't give me to him for 6 hours. Imagine somebody has been with you for 9 months, your only source of safety and feeling safe, and the universe, your entire universe is the mother. In the womb, the child is thinking that. And suddenly the child comes out in between all this chaos, they're kept away from the mother also for many hours. So imagine what that child feels. And to think that no other no other organism on the planet births like this. Everything births so naturally, and the child is allowed to be with the mother, the offspring, the infant, the newborn is allowed to be with the mother till they choose to be. Only in our modern industrialized civilizations we're living so far away from nature, which obviously takes an impact on how we I feel as a mother and how I'm going to raise my child. So I'm never going to say that if you have a cesarean section in the hospital or if you have a hospital birth, your child is going to suffer. No, that's not what I mean. I mean, all children are resilient. They will cope up, but it's about the mother, it's about the parent, it's about the father, it's about how they feel about themselves after the birth. It has a huge impact in the way they raise their children. Okay, so this is my journey. This is where I come from. These are the topics I'm extremely passionate about. I'm passionate about birthing, I'm passionate about nature, I'm passionate about non-interventions to life, I'm passionate about raising children with a lot of kindness and compassion, simply because I wanted that while growing up. Selfishly, I wanted that. So I'm like, I will give that to my child. Yeah. And it's easy to say, takes a lot of inner work because it's so easy to snap at children, to yell at children, to force them, to control them, to make them become somebody to please us. So for me to have a healthy relationship with anybody on this planet, I need to first feel like I'm enough, I am full, I am complete. So I need to feel so full so that I can share it with my family and with my children. Now parenting is happening the other way. I'm feeling empty and depleted. You have to study and get marks so I can feel good. You have to talk to the guests who come home. So then they will say that I have raised you well, so I can feel good about myself. You have to do well in dance and party and Bharatanatyam and karate, and you have to do so many extracurricular activities so that I can feel good about myself because I've, you know, sacrificed my entire life in raising you. Now I want some validation from the way you behave. And it's a huge burden to put on tiny shoulders who are only 6 or 7 years old. Because when you don't care about your own happiness and take care of your own self, why should the child think about you and then care about you and make you happy? Your happiness is your priority. Nobody cares about your happiness. Really, nobody cares. I'm not saying everybody is selfish, but genuinely, everybody is very held up in their own lives, in their own problems in their head. So, to expect somebody to see you, notice you, and go out of their way and care for you and make you happy is a lot to ask today. It's a huge expectation to put on our relationships. And then slowly you'll see that the relationship is becoming wider and wider. The more I'm expecting them to make me happy, the more the gap just widens. So I would like to end on this note and say thank you so much for giving me the space and the energy to share my journey and my life with you all. I'm open for questions. We have 5 more minutes.
Yeah, there is a question on chat, Gotha.
Yes.
Where did you give birth to your second child?
Yeah, so I gave birth to my child in a birth center called the Birth Village. It's there in Cochin. You can do a Google search. There is one more birth center in Hyderabad. It's called the Sanctum. So for now, these are the two birth centers that I know. which also have a operation, they also have a gynecology team with them. So they have both integrated together. So in case there is an emergency, they will take you. The medical team will assist you in giving birth. But they always believe in giving mother the time and the space to allow this process to happen. And only if there is a complication, they take the help of, the hospital, yeah, the pediatrician and the gynecologist. How do you handle guilt feeling? Hmm, I don't handle it. I let it be there. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling guilty. Why am I feeling guilty now? What is the guilt trying to tell me? So obviously the guilt is trying to tell me something. All my emotions are trying to tell me something. Like guilt is like saying knock knock. I'm here. Guilt, I'm here. So you should look at me. I'm telling you some very important information. It's like it's telling me that don't repeat this again. This is not making you feel good. So going further in life, I learn the lesson and then do differently. Try something different next time so that you don't feel this feeling. You don't feel this discomfort. But if I'm pushing away my guilt, I'm also pushing away the lessons it's bringing me, the communication is bringing me. So any emotion, I'm like, that's interesting. Okay. So what am I going to take away from this? What is it trying to tell me? And the moment I sit with the guilt and I'm like, okay, now, okay, I have the time and space now. You tell me what you're trying to tell me. I have time, you tell me. And then the guilt tells me, when you did that, it didn't feel good for me. So next time can we do things differently? That's what guilt is telling. Guilt is not making or it's good. It's not good or bad. It's uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is not good or bad. You grow when you're uncomfortable. Yeah. Uh, Priya, can you help me read the questions? Because I'm
Yeah,
using my
sure, sure.
phone, I'm not able to.
Yeah, so the next question is what to do after yelling at children?
Okay, so the first thing to do is apologize. Okay. When you when somebody yells at you, they will expect that apology. And when you know that it's not right to yell, the first thing to do is ask sorry. And you have to be honest and truthful about your apology. You can't just say, okay, sorry. And the next time you can't keep repeating it. Then that's not sorry. That's just mouth service. When you are really sorry, then you say sorry. If you're not, then don't. Okay, so this is not like, oh my God, if I yell at my child today, they'll stop liking me tomorrow. Don't do it out of the fear that they will not like you. Okay, do it because you're genuinely feeling regret and remorse in your heart for losing your cool over somebody who is not responsible for you yelling. Honestly, I don't think children are responsible for our anger. They say, you made me angry. How true is that? Nobody can make you feel anything. They did something, you consciously made a choice, consciously or unconsciously, you made a choice to become angry and show that anger. It's a choice. Don't put it on anybody, huh? Like happiness, no, you can't feel anger till you make a decision. Okay, this I'm taking up on this and bringing out my anger. So that's the first thing. When you feel like you've yelled and you feel regret and remorse, apologize. That's one. Next thing is do your work, like do the inner work, which is like going back and questioning like what made me yell, what was my trigger there, how can I avoid this uh, you know in future, how do I communicate this to my child, how do we work together, how can we problem solve so we come to a win-win situation in the house. This is what we do after yelling at home.
Next question is how do you handle frequent tantrums from the 1 year old?
Tantrum is just a child telling you that I'm unhappy, and I just let the tantrum be there. The child can cry. Crying is good. According to me, crying is great. Stopping the cry is bothering me because crying is just an emotion. And we don't stop a laughing child. We never say, don't laugh. Don't be happy. But with a crying child, we're like, stop, stop, stop crying. Don't cry. I find it very hypocritical that one emotion I will accept and one more I will not accept. It won't work like that. What do you want when you're crying and when you're upset and when you're feeling terrible? Do the same to your child when your child is tantruming. Drop that expectation that a child should always be happy. Are you happy all the time? All right. We, as adults, we go through emotions like happy, calm, peaceful, angry, annoyed, irritated. Then again, we are happy, calm, and then we are frustrated. All of this from morning to evening, we go through so many emotions. But the job profile, if you see of a child, no, it should always be the mood status should always be happy, very happy, joyful, childish, laughing, calm, obedient. These are the emotions a child can express. If you are having this expectation, then it's going to backfire, right? Because they're human. Yeah, which means they will have all of it.
You, Gotha. There's another question. Do you see a difference between how both your children are growing up because of different birthing process?
Yeah, when you're really conscious and when you're really looking, I do see a difference. The first one, he's very cautious. You know, he gets intimidated very soon. Yeah, the elder one, he was born through an abdominal surgery in a hospital. And the second one, the girl, she's just 1.5 years old. She's more free. She's more herself. She is she's very sure of her body. She's very sure of what she wants. She's very sure and free. And yeah, this is the difference that I see between the both of them. And both are not good or bad. I'm not saying that is bad or good, but I'm seeing a difference. And that's who he is. This is who she is. I have no regrets with the first one at all. I've accepted, made peace with that, and yeah, that's his journey. He needed to come like that for where he's going in life, and I'm totally that I'm seeing the beauty in it today. When it happened, I was not accepting of it, but now looking back, I'm able to see because if not for that birth, I wouldn't have felt so uncomfortable to read more, research more, to grow in that area more.
There is a situation somebody Soundarya has written regarding respective parenting. What if in case the kid spills food which is not meant to spill while everyone in the family is around, even though as a mom you are keeping calm at that time, but others in the room started scolding you and the kid for the issue caused. Kid is 16 months now. How to handle the situation if you want to follow respectful parenting, but others in the family don't cooperate?
So in this situation, when a 16-month-old is throwing food, when I'm calm, I'll be able to tell my family members, he's just 16. He's exploring with gravity. Let him do it. And it's just food. I can clean up after him. I will say something like that to the child. Because the child is just 16 months. Whatever you say or don't say, the child is going to throw. Or you can use fear. And then it will curb their curiosity. It will curb their growth. Okay, it's just food. And after a phase, they will not throw food because they've already finished exploring. They understand how food and gravity works and which texture goes and falls where. At 16 months, we will not allow them to do this. But when they're 6 years, when they're 16 years, we will want them to do physics projects on textures and liquid viscosity and fluidity and all of these things we will want them to do. How will they understand if they're not doing it when they're 16 months? They need to have a physical experience of these things. So when a physics teacher is talking about the difference between oil and water, they need to know, oh, oil and water behaves like this. Oil on water behaves like this. Oil on wood behaves like this. They need to know these things. They're learning that today. When the teacher tells them when they're in sixth standard, they're like, oh yeah, I know. I have experienced that somewhere. And also many times when I feel like, there is a lot of conflict at home because of what I'm following, many times I just let go. I'm like, yeah, okay. In this situation, I will speak up for a few times. Then after that, I will also stop speaking up. I'll just let it be. Once they realize that whatever said and done, the child is doing what they're doing, the child let goes. And me personally, I continue to follow what I'm following. I'm not putting pressure on anybody to follow anything. Like my parents are there, my in-laws are there. They treat the child like the way they treated me, in fact, with much more pampering. But I don't push my ideologies on them because I think one parent following it is in itself a big thing. Is enough. If we get that right, it slowly percolates to the other members also. Don't have to worry that, oh, what will happen. So we need to give up this attitude of all or nothing. I will 100% be this perfect, respectful parent, or I will be this 100% yelling and this violent parent. No, come to the middle. You can't be in the extreme. Same with this. Only if all members in the family follow this, I'm going to take up this ideology. Otherwise, I'm going to drop this ideology and I'll just follow what they're following. No, don't be like that. You follow, and then only that is anyway in your control in life. We can only decide for ourselves, and every individual decides for themselves how they want to interact with the child, and the child's relationship with that person is between that child and that person. It's not my problem. If my in-laws are controlling my child too much, and then my child is behaving like that with them, and he's behaving differently with me, and I'm okay with that. If he's behaving differently with them, it's their problem to talk with them, to communicate with the child, to have a relationship with the child is their responsibility, not mine. Next question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the next couple of questions, I think you have covered
Okay, great.
in your answer,
Yeah.
unless anybody has something specific, because I kind of see that you answered the whole thing about how to stay cool and raise the kid when somebody's around, since it's about something
How
about
do you
the.
manage to stay cool when the child is not eating at all? That is something I would like to speak about for a couple of minutes. Why do you think we all eat?
When I'm hungry or if I want to taste something, I'll eat.
So when you're hungry, we all eat.
Yeah.
Have you known any adult who is hungry and not eating and starving when food is available? Unless consciously they're fasting. But otherwise, no, right? When they're hungry and there is food, we eat. Another question I have, when a child for 6 months, they're on breastfeeding or formula feeding, whatever.
Mm.
For 6 months, they have survived and thrived, deciding how much they want to drink and eat. Drink, not eat, obviously, they're on drinking. They have decided the quantity they want to survive. And how suddenly after 6 months, when we get the dabba and the ragi pool and the porridge in our hand, how do we assume that the intelligence suddenly goes away from the child? From the time the child is a newborn till 6 months, they have survived. They decided when to drink breast milk, how much to drink. We don't even know how much they're drinking, right? We can only know with the amount they're doing susu. Without that, we don't know. We're just assuming that they're full, and then we are just going because they are okay, they're happy, they're growing well, the milestones are reached. And now after 6 months, suddenly we're like, the child is not eating. Especially after 1 year, we are suddenly saying the child is absolutely not eating. What we tend to miss is that the child is eating, but the child is not eating to your expectation. One second. Yes, ma. இன்னைக்கு இல்ல class இல்ல. Auntie must. Okay. Sorry. So we think that, we all know this is the, no, this is the size of the child's tummy. And that size is their hand. You should not fold your hand and say this is the size of their tummy. So you know how small the stomach is of a child? If they fold their fist, only this much will come. It won't hold more than half an idli with sambar or half a dosa. It won't hold more than that. But we expect that they have to finish that one idli or two idlis and two chapatis. It won't fit inside. So how much ever you stuff in there, you're just making them overeat. Respect when the child says no. And actually the child survives. They manage. And I'm raising my child, both my children like that. And it's a no, it's a no. Even if they have had 2 spoons and they say I'm enough, I'm done. And then they're done. And then there are snacks available at home, snacks like dry fruits. Cucumbers are cut and left at their height. 1.5 years old she is. And whenever she feels hungry, she can help herself to it. And she knows. She goes to the kitchen, she takes the cup and she says, Mum, give me mum, which means it's time for her nuts. She's hungry. Okay, so she's compensating for a little quantity she had less in the lunch. Immediately after 1.5 hours, she's like, I want mom cup, give me cup. Yeah. So they manage. It's just that we don't trust them. We are so scared. We think there'll be malnutrition. But I've never seen a malnutrition child in India in our economic status where there is constantly food available in front of them. That malnutrition child that you see happens in Somalia, where the child is not eating for 3 months, 4 months, where the rib cage and all is seen is that tummy tucked in, that the fear that you have, Now it's not happening in India in our economical background. My pediatrician always says the rib cage of the child should be seen. When you lift the shirt, that you should be able to count the rib cage numbers. I'm not talking about the tummy, I'm talking about this portion. That worries us. We're like, oh my god, the child is so lean. But there is research, it seems, which says that when you can count the rib cage and when they are, young, when they're small, when they're toddlers, it means that when they're growing up, they will not have a lot of lifestyle related diseases like obesity, hypertension, diabetes. It's a study that they're doing. It's shown that lean, thin children, the ones we call like nandus, that's what they call in my mother tongue. They're like so lean. Are you even feeding them? Are you eating all of their food? That's the question they ask. நீ மட்டும் சாப்பிடுற அவங்களுக்கு சோறு போடுறியா இல்லையா? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gotha.
Thank you.
So there is a question on, do you run courses on conscious parenting? Could you suggest books on conscious parenting? We have a couple of more questions, I guess.
Please stop with this question. Yeah. I'm
Is there
heading
a
to
way
another
to
meeting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a way to reach to other questions?
I couldn't hear her.
The questions are many, so is there a way for us to feed back the questions?
Yeah. Priya, you can get in touch with me through mail or WhatsApp. And after each question, I'll type my answer and send it, and you can send it to the group. If you copy all the questions, is there a group mail where you send them the link?
What we do, we have their names in the chat, so we look back to them.
Okay, great. Okay. So you just send me the questions. I'll send you the answer. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks,
I'm on
everyone.
Instagram for people who want to follow my work. I'm on Instagram under the name Gotha Hari Priya. So I have a lot of posts talking about this. If you're curious, you can come and check out and hang out with me.
Yes. That's the best place to be there. Follow her on Instagram. She's been regularly posting over there, and you can connect directly. Even her nature birth journey, I remember the whole diary she once. I'm not sure whether you published it in a sequence or something you have done, which I do remember. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah. Thank you so much joining us today, and thank you everyone for joining us right now. And we have also a next session at 5 p.m. with Dipti Natarajan. So we'll invite all of you, those who can spare a time with us. Wonderful. Also, we have spent a good number of time with Gotha, and you might have resonated with some of the qualities, some of the essence of Gotha. So please use this link of Mentimeter and share your connection with Gotha, so we can offer it back to her, and we can also study something more about this quality work which we are doing. Once again, thank you everyone. Thank you, Gotha. Any final word you want to say?
No, just thank you. I have a lot of gratitude for all the love that you shared with me today. For the questions, it gives me more clarity when I talk to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you.